She'll be here. Okay, welcome everybody. It's May 15th, 2017. We're conducting a meeting of the Montgomery County Board of Elections, and we have a quorum. And before we begin, I just want to make a very happy announcement congratulating Allison. And I want to read this into the record because I want a public record of this because we're very proud of Allison. I want to announce that Deputy Director Allison McLaughlin has been appointed to a federal advisory committee. She will be one of two appointees of the National Association of Counties to the Board of Advisors to the U.S. Election Assistance Commission that was created under the Help America Vote Act. It is a 37-member board that includes representatives from various national organizations that advise the EAC and consider and must formally vote to approve new federal voting system standards. As well, State Administrator Linda Lamone also serves on the same Board of Advisors as a representative of the National Association of State Election Directors. Allison's first meeting as a member of the Board of Advisors will be next week in Minneapolis, and we congratulate you and we thank you for your service.
That's
okay.
Wonderful.
Approval of the minutes from the April 24th, 2017. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Second?
Did you mention?
Yes, I'd like to just to note that on page 3, David had put a comment in regarding David Wilson, and I just want to confirm that he has filed and has filed since March 2017.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if it's staying in there as suggested by your comment.
That's up to the board. It's just a question of whether we want people to be identified as candidates in the minutes, which might encourage candidates to try and come talk to
Was
us.
he a candidate? Was he a candidate at the
Correct.
time?
He was. Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
So
he said he was, too.
Yeah, right, and he did say he was. But again, there's you could end up with a long list of candidates who want to be here in order to promote their candidacy, which I guess is okay.
So.
Yeah.
I don't think so. He was here as a concerned citizen.
But it should say he's a candidate.
He
He identified himself.
He identified himself in that fashion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay, and then the second comment that I added was, thank you, David, for correcting David Effingham's name.
Yeah.
He submitted some paperwork, and he actually submitted as legal and policy director versus your policy. Oh, sorry. You submitted as legal and policy. He actually submitted as policy and legal.
I got it off the website.
Oh, I got it off the He submitted a letter. He submitted that word attached.
Doesn't matter. Does not matter to me.
Okay, I just wanted to know.
Okay.
That was the only
Yeah,
thing
that's
I
good.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion? Is there a motion to approve?
yeah.
Jim,
Without all of that.
one other comment. We should make sure we spell Dan McHugh's name correctly. I'm not sure if that's how it's spelling.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's MC capital H-U-G-H.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's spelled here as
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know.
It's Dan, M small c, capital H-U-G-H.
McHugh's.
McHugh.
McHugh.
Singular.
He was the gentleman that we could not read his
Yes,
Okay.
his handwriting.
handwriting,
Gotcha.
even when he signed in.
Okay. With those corrections, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed? Okay, those are the only minutes. We're going to have a executive session at the end of the meeting regarding a personnel matter. That's the only change in the agenda.
And I wanted to add an item to new business regarding the position of board secretary.
Okay? So we'll add those two items. Are there any public comments, Lisa?
No one asked to speak in advance, and no one here today to actually address the question.
Okay. Margaret, your report?
Okay, the meeting notification was posted on May 4th, 2017. We did receive a letter from Public Interest Legal Foundation, and Kevin Karpinski will be addressing that matter. Our new bilingual staff person will start on May 30th, 2017. Allison was appointed to the Board of Advisors for the Election Assistance Commission in terms of personnel. That's pretty much it. We've kind of been focusing on the early voting centers. So I'll hand it over to Margie.
I hope Allison's not meeting with you.
No.
It is an unpaid advisory
Right,
board.
Mark, did you want to mention the audit, or is that later in the,
That's later.
later? Okay.
Okay, the FY17 budget, the latest update on the spreadsheet was sent to everyone in advance. We are showing 20.91% of our budget remaining for the last 2 months of the fiscal year. No significant changes between last month and this month. The third quarter invoice from the State Board of Elections was for a total of $400,412.69. It was not processed until May 9th, so you'll see that reflected in next month's budget spreadsheet. Happy to answer any questions anyone has about FY17.
Do we have all the bill except as state board, or do we pay everything, or we still owe a lot? Like still surplus of $1 million or something we have to spend until June, right?
Well, as you will recall, the Office of Management and Budget is actually projecting a deficit for the board. So I think that once the third quarter billing comes out of there, and then of course the fourth quarter billing won't be received until sometime in July, I think that will pretty much take care of any proposed or supposed surplus that you might be seeing now.
That's the billing from the state you're talking
yes.
about? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay. In terms of FY18, as you all know, the County Council did pass the County Executive's recommended budget. That budget is in the amount of $8,041,700, which is a 2.42% increase over the current fiscal year, and does include $28,000 plus for the additional early voting center and $86,000 plus for the increase in the election judge stipend. What is not known at this point is what the council will decide regarding reconciliation list items. On the reconciliation list for the Board of Elections is $199,000 for scanners, $30,000 for advertising, $72,000 for off-site training, $34,500 for outreach. The reconciliation list, as is historically done, will be decided behind closed doors sometime between May 18th and May 25th. We will be notified of what their decision is, and as soon as we learn what that is, we will certainly pass that on to the board. There is no public meeting where that's decided. There's no additional input that's provided at any point. This is a discussion between the council members regarding their various priorities. There is a huge reconciliation list and not a lot of money, and so we are competing with the entire county, and we'll see if we receive anything on the reconciliation list. But as soon as we know something, I'll let everybody know.
And that will all take place on the 18th.
It's supposed to be the 18th, but there's always the information to the budget folks that it may take.
They may have to go back and forth,
right?
Get some additional
if there's any
information
additional
or something.
back and forth needed. Well, it wouldn't be additional information. It would be just more back and forth amongst the council members.
Okay.
They have received all the information from the various agencies that they will receive. Now it's up to them to decide whose priorities win the lottery.
Mr. President, I had the occasion over the weekend to see a number of council members, and I took the opportunity to talk about it since it is coming up so soon. And I was very pleased at the reception that I got toward it, especially when they heard about what we were really looking at in terms of taking the training out to the community. That universally was really a popular issue. Good. So keep our fingers crossed.
Good.
Great. And let's see, the only other thing Margaret asked me to comment on under budget is in your packets. Lisa provided you with a copy of your registration for the Mayo conference, and I've attached a little cover note to that giving you your reservation number and the nights that were reserved for you. Also in that is just a little note to remind you that I do need to get your room receipt so that I can reconcile the credit card. So please make sure you bring that to me no later than the June 19th board meeting so that I've got that for financial purposes. And that's all I've got.
I will just, since Marcia just mentioned the Mayo meeting and Kevin had reminded me earlier that there was an update to the agenda, so I just printed that off of the website and made copies in case anybody wants that.
Thank you.
Is everyone on the board going, Marcia?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Okay, Mr. President, I'd like to, do you want to discuss Mayo, or can we go to the next one?
Was there any questions about Mayor?
I have one brief question. Is it the same as in the past that if family members want to stay in our rooms without additional expense, that that's okay? Or is there a problem with that?
As far as I know, there's no problem with additional people in the room. I didn't ask when I was making the reservations, but Allison, do you have any?
I don't have any information on that.
Yeah.
We can check.
I would presume it's
It wasn't
okay.
a problem when you have the room. It's usually for 2 people. But
Right.
So,
And it's usually for 2 people, and I'm 1 person. So, yeah. Okay.
You are?
Yeah. Yeah. Shocking, yeah.
as far as that person doesn't come into our food, it's okay.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Okay.
Yeah.
Voter registration?
Voter registration, Jessica, do you have anything?
We had 660,421 active voters at the end of April. We're at 658,433 today. We continue to work through updates and voter requests that are being submitted, and all of our lovely return sample ballots and other ancillary process.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, State Board of Elections biennial meeting is scheduled for Monday, October 23rd at the Doubletree, Annapolis, 210 Holiday Court, Annapolis, Maryland. This is a mandatory meeting for the board members as well as the board attorney. If you have a conflict and cannot attend, you need to contact the state administrator, Linda Lamone.
That's just a 1 day?
Right now, yes, that's all they have is 1 day.
And do we know anything about the start and stop time?
No, I do not.
Okay. Thank you.
And then I enclosed a letter from the Ethics Commission regarding all filings related to financial disclosure will be electronically from this point, actually beginning in October.
We just did it, didn't we?
Yeah, can you explain what is the
we
change? We all had to
Do it electronically.
file the
There
end
were
of...
certain exceptions in the past for a paper filing, and that has gone away.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
all electronic.
It's not doing it. We do it like in April.
No, it's not due.
Okay.
I'm just telling you the line. The state board said that we should pass this along. There must be some state board members somewhere across the state that still file the old paper forms.
I got you.
Okay, and then we did receive the audit from the state board. We're working through the issues, and we will present this at the next board meeting.
And this is an audit on...
The general and primary election of 2016.
Okay.
And that's it. Our next topic would be the board attorney report.
Yeah, I have just 3 brief things. The first, the letter regarding the ballot marking device with Mary Ann and David's comments went out last week. Jim signed it, and if you've not gotten a copy for your files, we'll make sure that we get one to you. So that's been sent out.
Would that be the kind of thing to put on our website?
Certainly could. Is there a problem with space for that?
Well, we can attach it to the minutes.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Or some kind of, I mean, it's obviously a very big issue for us.
Right.
So, just a thought.
Certainly
Yeah.
not a problem to do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
It's a good idea.
Attached to the minute, yeah.
The second is the judicial watch letter was sent to the state, but I've been in contact with the Assistant Attorney General who's drafting the response, and I've asked that the board be given the opportunity to at least comment on whatever draft is being circulated. He said he was going to speak to the state board and would get back to me. In the meantime, I've provided him the PowerPoint presentation that Jessica did, and Jessica did some bullet point items that could be included in whatever draft letter. I will circle back with Mr. Snyder later this week. He said he was just beginning doing the drafting of it to see if we can get a draft or whatever they're planning in terms of a response, so we can have some input on that.
Kevin, when's the due date on that?
It's 45 days,
45 days
is what they said from, so it's coming up pretty soon.
Coming up, and he said he was starting to work on it.
Okay.
But I'll go ahead and get you some more information on that.
How much do we have to adhere to a due date from someone who sends us a letter like that?
Probably not much. I mean, if they need more time, and then probably Judicial Watch, if you were to call them up and say that we're a board, and we need the board meets once a month, and we need more time, then I think they probably would be willing to do that. So I mean, they're coming up on 45 days, so
right.
We're going to have to get something out pretty soon. And Adam made it sound like he was starting to work on a draft.
Yeah, I think 45 days is like right before Memorial Day.
Right. So, but I'll keep you posted on that. I was unable to get a hold of him this morning, and I spoke to him last week about this. So I'll get you some more information on that. In the meantime, we've now gotten our own Freedom of Information Act request from Public Interest, which is supposedly a nonprofit public interest law firm, and they have requested all documents related to any voter who was removed from MD voters as a result of citizenship and eligibility, as well as any voter who claims that they were wrongfully registered. And that letter is in your packet, and I sent it to you electronically this morning.
January 2009.
January 2000. This is a very onerous request, and we're still trying to get our hands around how we can respond to this.
What do we know about
Because unless there is some sort of program, and I'm looking to Janet and Jessica, that would allow us to identify people that fall in this category, and I don't think that exists, this would require someone to go through and manually look at things, which would be extremely time consuming.
Kevin, they attached a letter from a woman
Yes,
who was a
that's
New
right.
Jersey voter.
Yeah, that was,
It's just an example
that's an example
Oh,
of
what they're
someone.
looking for.
But here's the problem though, which is
That was just an example.
yeah,
not-
it's an example.
Okay.
So, but let's say in Montgomery County we got something like that. Someone writes a letter and says, "I went to MDA. I didn't want to be registered. There was some communication problem. I'm not a U.S. citizen. Please remove me from the voter rolls." Well, that's one piece of paper, and they would get removed. But that's one piece of paper among hundreds of thousands of pieces of paper that get processed on a yearly basis.
Right. How do you find that piece of paper?
How do you find that person and identify them, and that becomes really the monumental challenge, because I don't think it happens with great frequency, but there are occasionally those people are removed on that basis. But identifying them could be extremely time consuming.
And of course, in that situation, the error, if you will, was taken care of.
Correct.
Right? So they just want to know how many people this happened to. Is that it?
Correct. And usually, now, all these organizations always ask for a waiver of whatever fees would be associated because it's work being done in the public interest. But at some point, this becomes so burdensome that you'd be hard-pressed to waive whatever staff time would be required or whatever person would be needed to comply with such a request.
How would we find this group of people?
I've contacted the State Board of Elections with regards to how we can comply with this request, and the Voter Services Division is going to work with Jessica and Janet, and we're just going to start at the beginning and see what we can find initially, pulling various reports.
We the only one who got it, or everybody in the state got it?
I'm not
Everybody
aware.
in the board?
I did not ask that question of the state.
I believe only Montgomery County got it, and this is probably a follow-up to Judicial Watch. And the article
They're targeting counties with large minority populations.
Oh.
So they send out like a legal request, I believe, to over 37 counties that have a large minority immigrant population.
This new one, the new letter, this group?
No, this public interest
Oh.
legal.
How did you know that?
Because they actually even they have a press release on their website.
Oh.
Kevin, I had a question about, is there any discretion to push back on the time limit that they're asking us to go back
I think we're going to have to, depending upon once we get some more information on how onerous this is going to be, we're going to have to try and, say, would you please narrow the scope of this so we can, start with 1 year or 2 years and see what exists, and then, sort of reevaluate, where we are after that.
I don't know how far back we go and how often we routinely purge these kind of documents, but it's, if we did keep them, it seems like an awfully long way to go back in time.
Well, when you think of, Jessica, how many voters are removed every year?
Oh, I can tell you last month alone there was 1,255 cancellations in 1 month, but that's an off cycle. So as soon as we make an active, and paper records are 22 months retention period. So.
And the thing is there's in MD voters, there's not a category for non-citizenship. It's just it's a vague not eligible. So we have to narrow cancellations down to not eligible and then start going through them one by one to determine why they were not eligible.
And there may be more than one reason. Yeah.
Yes, there can be.
Is there a separate category for not eligible due to moving?
No, I don't think so.
They fall in the bucket of not eligible?
Yeah.
It's not in that.
So not eligible is
There's
a
no
pretty big
separate
category.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not in the article too.
But not eligible. If we get a provisional ballot for somebody who tried to vote here even though they don't live in Maryland, we put them in not eligible because we have to account for the ballot that we receive, but they're in Washington, D.C., Virginia, Pennsylvania. There's lots of reasons we use not eligible for people who aren't eligible to be registered here. They've never resided in the United States, but they're a citizen. Maryland doesn't extend that registration reason, so we put them in to document the receipt of their information, but then we notify them they're not eligible. There's lots of not eligible reasons.
Kevin, when they file something like this, is there a time deadline on the response?
It's 30 days.
30 days to respond or 30 days to complete, give them all the records?
Well, it's generally 30 days to provide them all the records, but in this particular case, what we have to start off with is giving them an estimate of what it's going to cost to generate, to produce the records. Once they have then assured that they are going to be responsible for payment of that,
right,
then the time clock starts for us to go ahead and comply with the request. So we're going to need to get something out fairly quickly to them saying this is what it would entail to comply with this request, and this is how much it would cost to do it. And then go from there.
Okay.
So, and now the state has a public information officer or commission that hopefully would help sort of mediate trying to resolve getting this down to a manageable level.
If there was a dispute, is that Circuit Court Montgomery County or
Circuit Court from Montgomery County?
So it's like a Maryland Public Information Act?
Correct. Yeah. So they would file in the Circuit Court, and then the Circuit Court would have some discretion as to what would be required to be produced. And generally, if it's a small amount of money for organizations like this, I generally say just waive it. Hey, but this is not. This is going to be an expensive thing to comply with. So they would either need to substantially narrow it, or they'd have to go ahead and assure payment on it.
And what in payment? What kind of expenses does that involve? Staff time? Or?
Staff time.
Yeah.
That would be copies, but in this particular case, the big thing would be staff time.
How is that? What's the process for? Is there like a certain rate or something?
We'd have to establish who's going to do the review,
right.
What that person gets paid per hour, and then estimate how many hours it would take to do the review. And then at that point, then you give them that projection, and then they have to pay that to begin, continue the process. So, any Any questions? Okay, well, I'll keep it posted.
Please.
I have no old business. New business, early voting. You should have all received your booklet. There is a spreadsheet that covers all the state law requirements. And the presentation is not every page that's in this book. So it's been consolidated. I'm going to ask the board members that you allow Chris to do the presentation on each site and then hold your questions to the end of the presentation for that specific site. Okay?
But we can question at the end of each site.
Yeah.
Could I also say, because I'm sure you all saw my email where I had requested the list, and I did go through this. Thank you. This is so well done. The pictures are clear. Compared to what we had done, the black and white. I love the color and indicating the various bus stops, etc. It really is a lot of good information, and I know it must have taken a tremendous amount of time to do, but.
Chris led a great team made up of different people from different sections, and thank you for acknowledging
No,
the
it's
work.
excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
it really is, Chris.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's interesting to put it together and get out there and look at all the different options.
Did you have to go to all of them, Chris? Yeah.
I've been around the county quite a bit lately. For the ball to come up.
Sure, out your way. Let me know if I'm blocking your view. Let's see what the view's going to be.
Yeah, I know. I think when they get it centered, it should be fine. Oh,
Okay.
Naheem, this is terrific, isn't it? It appears to me. I mean, what a wonderful project, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. And then over here is the map of the early voting centers with a 5-mile buffer around them. The red ones represent where we were in 2016, and the blue are sites that, depending on your judgment, could potentially be used. So,
Would we get another copy of that map?
Yeah,
that we did 2 years ago? Or?
if you want one, yes, we can get one. Can you ask? Can Louise get? What size? See if she can get this size.
Or even a digital copy.
For all of us, yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, I have 2 members that are requesting digital copies to be sent to them.
Yeah, me too.
David and Alex.
You know what? Just send it to everybody. That's easy for you.
Okay.
All right, well, good afternoon, and as Margaret mentioned earlier, we've put together the spreadsheet for you that has all of the different criteria that the state asks us to review when we're reviewing a site. So you have that on the yellow spreadsheet. As you're aware, for this election we'll be allowed to have 11 early voting sites versus the 10 that we had in the last election. We've reviewed 19 sites here for your review. So we'll go forward, first of all, looking at some sites. As you know, nationally, we're all doing early voting and choosing polling places. And here are some of the unusual spots. Beverly Hills Hotel, a billiards hall in Chicago, skating rink in Philadelphia, laundromat in Chicago.
Oh, that's our Chicago.
And then we move on to the criteria, and the criteria has not changed as far as the information that we need to look for and provide the state. There's connectivity. We have to make sure that the facility is open to the public, that we have telephone access or service, and we have access to alternate power sources in case of an emergency. And then we move on. We have air conditioning and heating. We want to make sure that it's handicap accessible, that it meets the population requirements, and then we have adequate space to accommodate voters and voting equipment, the entire process of election, early voting elections. We need to make sure that we have campaigning available to us and that there is public transportation. And then along with the transportation, we look at major roads and make sure that they're free of any kind of obstruction, and adequate parking is part of the criteria as well. As we go through, there is your spreadsheet. That is also in this presentation. We need to always look at the room and determine if we think the equipment that is needed is going to fit in a particular space. This is a generic setup. We look at flow and where we can put the equipment. We look at the electricity, the availability of sockets and so forth, so we can accommodate everything that is needed during early voting. At that point, these are some of the pieces that are delivered out. We have the gray cart, which you're familiar with in the past. We have the black transfer cart, which transfers most of the equipment. And then in the center is a ballot distribution cart that is being reviewed as an organization and transfer piece for all of the ballots for early voting. Of course, we have our...
Is that a new piece of equipment, that ballot cart?
It's under consideration.
Yes.
Yes.
And how many ballot styles could it accommodate?
I don't know the exact spec. Margie might know that.
There's approximately 120 slots in the one that's under consideration. The slots, however, can be adjusted.
Oh, okay.
So we believe it will accommodate all of our ballot styles.
All right. Thank you.
All right, and then we have our electronic poll books. Excuse me. And then the booths, and then also the ballot marking device. There will most likely be 2 of those units in each early voting center. And then our scanners, and then the ballot bins to hold the ballots. So those are the pieces that we look at when we're trying to determine space. Then now we will move on to the rooms. They're in alphabetical order. Activity Center at Borough Park is one of ours that we've used for several cycles, and it has proved very popular with voters. Mm-hmm. There's our entrance. This is a map showing the location. It is right off of South Frederick Avenue in Gaithersburg. This red overlay shows the no electioneering zone for the Activity Center. This is the room, and if there's any questions, if there's no questions, I'll go forward to the next center.
I don't have a question, but because it's the site that I was at for the last primary in general, I'd have to say it's really been an excellent site. Because we had, tremendous lines for a lot of the early voting, especially the last day, as everybody did. But it really could accommodate it the way, they were able to work most of it inside. It did that last night go outside for a time. But then within the room itself, we did have some issues there. And it concerns me because there is a lot of square footage there. When you look at it, there's 3,000. I know some of these have more. but boy, it is really tight in there in terms of we had a problem with people backed up to get to the scanner, and they backed up through the voting booths.
And those things should be taken under consideration. We should possibly look at the flow and determine that there might be a better flow so we don't have those lines crossing into each other.
Do you know what the square footage is absent the, I gather room A is the break room?
What we're planning to do, Mr. Neiman, is A is the break room, and we're going to use most of that room, but one end will be left as a quiet area. So for this election, we will be taking over most of all that space that you see.
So you're saying the break room is going to be, we're going to be using it as a voting room as well?
Yes, we're going to try to make a division so there's a quiet area off to the back of the room where people could sit and relax.
So does the square footage include the break area, or does it only include the voting area?
It includes the entire area, so the break area is included in the 3,032.
So we had less than that than the last time.
A little bit less, yes.
Okay.
Maybe you should move the scanner to where the judge's desk is. Move them.
Well, that would be I just raised as a caveat, I think, presuming we use this location again, that we want to pay attention to the setup.
Yeah. The question that I had was, first of all, I think it's a great idea to use room A as part of the setup.
The voting area.
Because the flow was really, it was really challenging during early voting. But the question I have is it possible to have a break room and use one of the other rooms in the facility, one, and is it possible to have the gym, two?
Certainly, we can discuss this with the city of Gaithersburg. Right now, I would not be able to make a definitive answer about that. We have talked to them about a break area outside of this. They're limited with their other programs that are going on, so I'm not real sure that I have a good answer for that right now.
And the gym?
And the gym, I have not asked for the gym.
Because I remember when we were talking about Board Park last time, we talked about the gym, but I saw the answer was since we had asked too late in the game, they could not provide the gym because they had already, they didn't have enough time to inform people not
programs
to use the basketball, after basketball program that they have for adults. But I thought, and maybe you remember better, is that if they had more time aware of that we need those rooms, that they could make arrangements. Because the gym certainly is it's kind of like the Civic Center. It's about that size, maybe even a little bit bigger.
We can certainly ask, and the final arrangements have not been made, and I have not brought that up in this particular discussion. So.
I think that would be worth asking and getting the square footage on it.
Okay. Are we ready to go forward?
Yes, thank you.
Bower Drive. This is a location that we used during the first cycle, and then it was decided not to use Bower as an early voting center going forward. It was successful. The location, the entrance is shown here with the entrance, and then we have a secondary door that we can have voters exit out of. It helps with the flow. Again, we have the map, the star showing the location. It's just a block off of Norbeck Road, Maryland 28. The red shows the no electioneering zone. And as I say, Bower did prove to be a successful site. Leisure World residents were interested in using. Quite a few of our Leisure World residents came up to Bower to vote. Do we have questions?
How far away is Leisure World from Bower Drive? I didn't think it was that close.
It is.
A couple miles.
It is pretty close.
I can't tell you exactly.
I can
but
Google it for you.
going down Norbeck to Georgia, it's not very far once you go to your left on Georgia. It's not really.
There's also a Leisure World gate on Norbeck as well.
Right. On the other
Correct.
side, yeah.
So,
Oh, that opens onto...
onto Norbeck.
Norbeck, yeah.
It's on the east side of Georgia Avenue, but it's still not far.
Where has Leisure World been voting since we haven't used...
Yeah, for early voting.
Yeah, where have they been going for early voting?
I can't answer that. I know we're talking. I said left. Excuse me. We're right onto Georgia. I feel that going out one of the side entrances, they could go up to Mid-County, and that would not be real far for them to go. But after Bauer was taken off the early voting list, I'm not sure where they've chosen to early vote.
Chris, I just Googled it, and the answer to the previous question is it's 2.7 miles from Bauer Drive to
Up
that
to
shopping
Leisure
center.
World. Okay, thank you.
So that is close.
Yeah,
Usually
and
they
then
vote during the election because it's right there. We have 14 places inside.
One thing that I think that was happening at Bauer with Leisure World is the Safeway is across the street, and I believe the shuttle was going up to the Safeway from Leisure World. So that was probably one of the reasons that prompted people to stop off at Bauer.
Chris, we used this site for the first early voting cycle.
Yes.
Do you
For-
recall
for
what the
multiple-
reasons were why the board changed it?
it was highly controversial.
Yes,
Or what were the reasons given?
It's a
I mean-
small.
Parking
Parking is a
was a
problem.
problem. It was
And
smaller.
the argue was that Mid-County is
There was
larger.
a board member who preferred Mid-County to this, and it was at a time when we were adding other sites. Damascus was in the mix, and executive office, and this arrived really through a compromise. Not that this was ever a bad site.
I didn't vote to move it, and I was at Bauer. I was the board member assigned to Bauer, and I thought it was an excellent site.
It's a good site.
A question: the number of parking spaces that are listed, is that the parking spaces that are just at the rec center, or does it also?
That's
Yeah.
at the rec center.
Okay.
But we have the overflow next to the middle school
Right.
is
Right.
right next door.
Right.
So we have the overflow there as well as across the street at
Right.
the parking
Right.
at the center, at the grocery and just
Exa-
the center.
Exactly.
itself.
You're reading my mind because when we did have early voting at Bauer, I think that, and for that matter, there's also street parking allowed on Bauer Drive. But for the many hours of early voting when middle school is not in session, which is I think most of the hours of early voting, that was also well utilized for parking. It's literally right next door.
And
That
I
was
might-
an issue though with, it won't be in June, but it would be in October, during the work days, the middle school parking, there was some pushback by the school system in terms of complaints that voters were parking in the middle school, allegedly taking space away from the staff. And there was a few complaints allegedly, again, that voters were taking spaces away from the consumers of Safeway and whatever else was in that shopping center. But nobody went as far as threatening to bring the tow trucks out.
Not to mention some of those consumers of Safeway were voters.
I'm just reporting what.
Yeah, I think if you have a shuttle from that Safeway or from Leisure World, because all that parking in the back of the middle school, that's all teachers. That's where all the teachers park. So I
Right.
think that,
Not in June, and not on the weekend, and not after 4 o'clock.
but in October, teachers.
Right, but not after 4 o'clock.
Ooh, I don't know. There's a lot of activities that go on. I know at least middle school teachers that I know, they stay usually working past.
Yeah, I'm married to one of those middle school teachers who works past 4 o'clock.
There you go.
But for the most part, parking at most middle schools would be available during those hours.
All right, shall we go on? And this is the room itself. Now, Brookside Gardens.
Before we get to that,
Yes.
Bauer Drive also has a gym. Did we give any consideration to it?
That room's tiny.
We did. We had connectivity testing on all of these sites. We went into the gym, and the gym, we really were not getting any reception. It would mean that we would need to get permission from the rec department to go through the walls, through the cinder block, and install an antenna on the exterior of the building. And then once our antenna is on the exterior of the building, we have issues with wind and keeping it in line with the cell towers.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So, shall we go ahead? Mm-hmm. And this is the room, and this is across the way from the gymnasium. Yes, there is a gymnasium in Bauer. Brookside Gardens, we reviewed the auditorium in that complex. That would be the entrance into the reception area, which leads into the auditorium. This is a new site that was reviewed, and we show that it is about 2 blocks off of Randolph. The star is where the building is, and it does have a Wheaton address. Challenges. Transportation, as far as public transportation, we only have ride-on going along Randolph in the mornings and in the evenings. The walk from the bus stop down to the center would be not quite a half mile, and we have no sidewalks from Randolph down to the center. We were hopeful that we could reserve, but we have a scheduling conflict. We have a wedding booked there for the 16th of
I'm glad. I'm glad there's a wedding booked.
I frankly was surprised to see it on the list because the square footage is just never going to work.
No, and we had discussed Brookside Island before as not a favorable site at all because of accessibility issues for people to even walk it. I mean, it's a safety issue. Transportation stinks around there. It's just not, I mean, it's really nice for a wedding or a tea party, but it's not a good site for early voting. It's just not.
Any other comments?
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln.
We'll go forward with Damascus. Now, Damascus has been on for the last 2 elections. It has proved to be a location with no challenges. There's the entrance. The location is off of Ridge Road, Maryland 27. We do have a ride-on that runs along Ridge Road. This is the no electioneering zone, the red overlay. And we use the social hall. Any questions?
Only thing you need there are voters.
Yeah.
It increased though, didn't it?
Yeah, it increased because we had a better sign.
Well, because the
Before we didn't
presidential
have it.
always increases.
And there's more
Better
people,
sign,
there's more development
from the
going
main
on that
road
area
to
too.
the place.
We have been proactive about trying to get people to that traffic light and to turn, and where to turn once they're on Oak Drive. Because to get them going. So we did improve the signage quite a bit for the last cycle.
Yeah. And can I just add one more thing to Damascus for future? There's a lot of development that has happened in the Clarksburg area, which is literally up the road from this site.
Yeah.
So we can actually have those folks going to Damascus to vote it will alleviate a lot of the overflow that we have in Germantown. But I think these are new families. They're just moving in. They have moved in the last 9 to 12 months, so they don't know that there's those options. So if we can do anything to pass the message, either through PTAs, through the school system, any way to get to those folks to let them know that we have an early voting center within a mile and a half from their home, I think that would be beneficial to the Germantown rec center.
Oh, I agree, because I think we're getting a lot of people at Germantown that could easily go to Damascus.
It's so much closer. It's
do
so
they
much
not
closer.
know, or is it just not on their flight pattern?
No,
they don't drive
I
that
think
way.
There's every couple of months there's a new development opening where the Harris Teeter. And there's going to be more development. I think opening another 1,000 townhouses within the next 12 months. So if we can get the ear of those folks, because these are new people to Up County to begin with, and it's literally within a mile, like 1.2 miles where they live from, which is much further to go to the rec center. You have to go across Germantown, close to the soccerplex. If we can actually, and maybe we can put a little, I don't know,
get some sign waiver.
Oh, yeah. Are you volunteering? But I just say, if we can use even our own school system to help us disseminate that information.
I'm thinking of even the developers and the and real estate people, maybe to include a bullet somewhere in material that they give new homeowners coming in and whatnot, early voting site. And
we have a new middle school
blah.
opening in the fall. We just had a middle school open, and another elementary school. So this is the time when we can actually disseminate that information. I think that would be key.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good.
All right.
Yeah. By the way, just on a note, the signage was improved in Damascus, and actually the county called to complain and tell us to take the sign down.
Right.
You're kidding.
Which part of the county?
The one original.
They said they won't do anything for 10 days, and then after 10 days, if you don't rectify it, then they fine you.
Oh well.
I said,
So we were gone.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But somebody sees it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Can we do something to prevent that?
Yeah, we'll be more proactive. That was a first for me.
Yeah.
Someone was complaining about a sign saying "Vote here."
Unbelievable.
Only in Montgomery County.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll move forward. Executive Office Building has been one of our successful sites since the beginning of early voting. There is the entrance with the new improved sidewalk. And then we have the star located in the buildings off Jefferson, near Mearsville Road, off of Maryland 355, about a block and a half from the Rockville Metro. This is the red overlay of the no electioneering zone. Of course, now the circle is totally complete and accessible. We'll be able to have people pull in and drop off. The room's a little bit on the small side, but we've been able to have the traffic flow work, and we expect with the numbers that the room will still be adequate for our needs. So if we have any questions about EOB, we will arrange for parking as we've done in the past down at the county executive or the county council building. Germantown is one of our original sites and has been a successful site. There's the entrance. It has shown up in numbers in third and fourth place over the years. It gains a lot of interest from the Germantown residents. The star indicates the location. It's right off of Clopper, near the corner of Clopper and Germantown Road in Germantown. There is the no electioneering red overlay. And if there's no questions, I'll go forward.
Marianne visited this place. I'm glad you changed a little bit of it, where they get the ballot, where they register, because it was very mishmash when we were there. It was all jammed. And the other problem was that the voting booth, they were close to the scanner, and then the people were
Lining up.
Yeah, it was
going
the same.
different
Same
places, and that
situation.
we
Yeah.
gave them some suggestion, and the chief judge said, "Oh, it's doing well. We are not going to change it." That
we did
is a
change
problem.
that location, and we did change it the fourth day. And then Potomac, we changed 3 different times. And I believe Wheaton, we changed twice.
And Borough Park we changed.
And Borough Park was changed 3
Okay,
times.
anyhow, it need to be changed, because that was,
I think the last configuration of Germantown worked. The other problem with Germantown that we did not realize from the time we tested the electrical on the one wall, it went out, and 3 of the outlets were not functioning, and so we were running extension cords. The electrical still is not functioning, but we have brought it to the attention of the Department of General Services.
We're going out and we're checking all of the outlets, and we'll make sure that they're in working order.
Is there a reason why we're not looking at the gym?
Yeah, that's another one. Isn't there a gym there?
There is a gymnasium.
Because generally gyms are so much bigger.
And a lot of the overflow we have had goes into the gym anyway. So my question
The
is,
problem with the gym is air conditioning.
Air
You know?
conditioning?
Yeah, lack of it.
Oh,
they don't?
Yes, that's correct. They have a kind of a passive system of moving air back and forth. So that's one of the problems with
Really?
the gym.
I was there. I played basketball there, and I never.
But it's not the gym where we've been actually doing the early voting?
No, the social hall is just fine. I mean, we've been up there for 4 election cycles in the social hall, aside from but I mean, the last day, I mean, it was nuts across the county. I mean, we had long lines everywhere. We did take over. I worked out a deal with the center manager, and we lined people up in the gym, and they moved in and out and moved in and out. So it worked out very, very well.
Can you still check? 'Cause I there. I think we should still check, because maybe there's a way that we can even put portable air conditioning or something in there. It's twice as big.
The social hall works crazy. I mean, I was assigned there, and aside from the last day.
Yeah, that was bad.
The last day.
it was bad everywhere.
It was like we were giving out free money.
Bad everywhere.
I don't want to remember the last day.
Maybe we need to do that on other days.
But no, it worked, and I am not inclined. And the other thing is, it was successful. I'm not inclined to move it out of the social hall, unless there's some sort of compelling reason.
Can I ask a sort of an overarching question as we're going through this? Knowing that we're more than likely going to have the 75 ballot styles and all that is going to encompass, are we talking of a need for extra space that we didn't see in the last election, that we're going to need in these facilities? In other words, how are we going to store those and have the people that are going to be working it, etc.?
We're doing the layout differently behind. So if you look at your book,
yeah,
okay,
and so
we have a proposed layout. So
and that you've taken that into consideration, yes. Where the okay.
Can you tell us how?
The blue. If you look at this configuration of Germantown, okay, so you walk in, you see your check-in tables. I think there's like 10 of them there.
Yep.
I'm sorry, 9. No, 8. 8 poll books. And then what you will see is the check-in, the ballot issuance table, and what there will be is one blue cart and one gray cart. And there will be a table there, which I can see, And that's where they will be compiling the secrecy sleeve with the ballot that is issued. And then it'll be handed off to the ballot issuing table. And then if you follow the footsteps, they'll go over to the voting area. And then they will go over to the scanners.
Hey, Margaret, is there a reason why we cannot have that whole wall in the back? Is it because there's no electricity that we don't use when people come in?
There is electricity there.
Yeah, see,
That's where the scanners are going, I think.
No, the scanners are at the other end.
No, the scanners are this way.
Oh, I see.
This is the entrance.
That's the
I'm talking
entrance.
about this wall back here. Is there a reason why we don't have checking there?
I think it's
Like
because
in
of
an L?
because of the antenna. I can talk to Jerry and John.
Because that would
about,
make the flow a lot better. Because then when you have an overflow of people backing up, they will not be backing up into where people are checking in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we'll see if we can. I don't know. We'll have to check those out.
What happened though the last time, somebody would be by the door, the entrance, and send people one at a time.
Yeah.
They will wait outside
Yeah.
and they will go one at a time, see when it is available, they just go there. That's the best way to do it. And when they see a backup on the
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what
paper
that would make
ballot, they
sense
will
because
stop
you
them
would be
from-
right there. You can see exactly where people. I mean, you even have a better view because when you are checking people in, like when you're here, people start snaking around, so it's hard to see what's going on here because you don't know. Sometimes it all mushes up. You don't know if those people have already checked in or are they in line or. Well, you know, you were there with me.
Yes, I was. And the thing is that the individual that's standing at the door is directing them to the various.
Right.
There's the blue lines the blue tape that we put all over that poor floor. We have lines so that you can line up. So as one person walks in the door, you say go to that station. The next person goes to that station. That person.
If you had like an L, I think that you can see it better and you can type.
The way they have it in here is good, except that scanner thing.
Well,
and
we
that
need
other
to
thing.
test the electrical against
Yeah,
that wall before
right.
I say. That this
Yeah, that's
is
what I
a
was
great
asking.
idea.
Maybe that was why you guys didn't do it that way. Cause
Okay. And if it is all electrical, it might be a cable or something else.
yeah, because it's just it was such a waste of space there when we could have used
Well,
every little piece of
we
space.
have chairs there. People are sitting waiting to get to the pulpit. So
Actually, the chairs we had
the chairs were
where those
lined up.
hanging hangers are.
Yeah, there were chairs there also.
Yeah, which actually made a lot of sense because then you could actually have people hold your place in line for the elderly as they were going up to get their
Okay,
folders.
well,
It's on the
we'll
plan.
go back and test the electrical on that wall.
That'd be great.
All right, we'll move forward. Now we're at Caulfield. This is a new site. We use it as a polling location, but we've not used it for early voting in the past. It has a Silver Spring address, and it meets the state criteria for the different pieces. This is the entrance. The star is the location of the building, which is off of Lightensville Road. Lightensville Road is near East-West Highway, 16th Street in Georgia. The red shows the no electioneering zone. And we would be using the gymnasium there. The partition is in this photo, but the partition would be open during early voting. We have no issues with Caulfield.
Goes in the middle, no?
Does have transportation out there.
What kind of, what's the transportation situation?
I don't have mine.
Okay, looks like there's two buses.
Has it ever been considered before, Chris?
Not as an early voting center. No, it has not been considered. Shall we go forward? Jane Lawton, you'll know that we've used that throughout our early voting cycles. The entrance, the locations indicated by the star. We have the metro within walking distance, and we have the Bethesda circulator, which is free.
The route is shown here. There is a stop relatively close to Willow Lane, which is the address for Lawton Center. So people could, it is within walking distance from that one stop on the circulator. This is good to accommodate the people in the Bethesda area.
What did we do with the circulator? Did we get that stop put in? Is that, or
no, we didn't ask for anything.
I thought we were
particular.
asking for something.
I think you
we
might
asked
be
for Silver Spring to extend the hours for Van Gogh past 8 o'clock, which was great because we had people down there voting past 8 o'clock.
Does the county run the circulator?
I don't know who runs the circulator.
It's a Bethesda.
It's the town? Oh.
No.
No.
Well, it
Bethesda
would be
is no
county,
town.
but
The county
somehow
funds
it comes
it
over
with the
to
Bethesda Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
Sure. Bethesda funding.
So we've never asked, for example, if the circulator could actually go down.
Go down into
And make-
the, no.
That would be ideal.
We talked about it.
That's what I thought.
I thought we did.
No, we asked, we got extra parking from.
Yeah.
From
But
the-
I remember some discussion
But we
on the
did talk about it
circulator.
on the circulator. Maybe it was for the other site that we were looking.
The Van Gogh. We did
Okay.
some special
I didn't know you
arrangements
have
with
it
Van
together.
Gogh.
Well, let's put that on the list to
Okay,
see if we could.
I'll try and see what they tell us about circulating back closer to the center. And then, of course, we'll talk to Village of Chevy Chase and ask that we have the same arrangements with the parking
Yeah.
lots or the no parking during the day.
Yeah, we may need to advertise it somewhat more than obviously we didn't have as much lead time last time. But we may want to advertise it more because I think a lot of people who even voted there didn't even realize that they could have parked on the street.
Now, this is another gym issue, isn't
Yeah.
it?
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, there is a gym
Is there a gym?
There is
Yes.
a gym.
There is a gym. This is the no electioneering zone. This is the room we use, and yes, it is on the smaller side. It has proved that it accommodates us. I was down there. Their gym is not a typical gym size. They were playing some kind of hand paddle, and forgive me, I don't know what they were playing, but it is not a typical gym.
Oh, you mean racquetball?
No, the
No,
gym.
it's not
There's a full basketball court there. Guarantee you, I've been there many times.
Really?
I've played there. I've watched my kids play
They
there.
must have had it when I was there
Yeah.
and closed off for that activity that
Okay,
was going on.
maybe it was closed off, but there is a full gym there, and I think it's well worth looking at because it is larger than that room. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice gym.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll talk to Rec Center.
Yeah, thank you.
And Lawton about the option for the gym. And as I mentioned, we'll talk to the city about our parking issues. So if we are fine with Lawton, we'll move on. Long Branch community, we have designated over the entire early voting cycles to use it as an alternate. This is the entrance. And it's off Piney Branch. The star indicates the location of the building. The red overlay is the no electioneering zone. We would use the gym. The gym is on the main floor. If we needed to go into Long Branch as an emergency, we would be using the gym, using the social halls on the second floor. Here,
I'm sorry.
we've got polling. Here are our issues. We have difficulty with going in and out of this location, as well as parking is 75 spaces. The pool will be open in June. There is no street parking, and I'll go back and allow you to look at the overhead. Here is the swimming pool. So safety issues are involved. We're going to have a lot of children in and out. We're going to have a lot more visitors in and out because of the swimming pool and gym. and we'll all be sharing the same parking.
But I do want to say something, that there's overflow parking that people can actually park and walk to, which is, it goes into the Long Bridge Library, which is right here. So there is a bridge, a walk bridge that connects to it, that takes people to the library, which has plenty of parking.
Yeah, can we find out how many spaces are at the library?
And you have all these buildings where people can actually just walk. And there's a couple of pedestrian walk crosses on Piney Branch that connect to that area.
There's also a lot of people there who rely on public transportation. You have 8 bus lines
Yeah.
that are
It's
there,
really
and a lot of people
interesting
who
site, I
are
think.
able to walk to the
And there's
the location.
also the shopping center, if we could have a shuttle where the Giant is. But quite honestly, when you have that overflow parking of the library, I don't know how many spaces there are.
And that's something that I can
But I think
determine.
it's over 100.
Grace, do you know what street the library's on from the back here?
Arliss, yeah. There you go. Thank you.
Oh.
That's your home.
Wait, I can find out how many parking spaces there are in the library.
And we'll go on.
I think it's interesting.
Longwood Community Recreation is in the northern George Avenue area and has a Brookville address, and it meets the criteria that the state sets down for us. This is where we would have them enter. Excuse me. This is the main entrance. We would have them walk through here. There's a small vestibule, and then you walk into the gymnasium. It is accessible, but if there would be inclement weather, we would have the boaters walk into this door where they can line up and be sheltered out of the elements.
Is that over Georgia?
And the star indicates the location. Public transportation ends at Gold Mine. It circles, the ride-on circles through that gold mine community, and you could stop and walk through to the this circle here. You could walk through from the stops here into, but then again, the bus transportation is morning and evening.
Right, it's very limited.
So it's just during rush hour.
Rush hour.
Yeah.
And there are no
buses.
sidewalks there on Georgia.
No sidewalks.
Because we had looked at this space once before.
I think, Nahid, you looked at us with us, right? Nahid? You went and saw the space with us.
Also, I recall there was I went there myself. I don't think I went with a board member, but the handicap issue. It wasn't there like a little thing that you had to take down. It could.
That was for the other room. You're talking about the chairlift?
Yes, the chairlift.
The chairlift.
issue because we're going into the
Right.
ramp.
I see. So this is all
Right.
on the same
now,
level.
Now you do have. Oh, I see. But you have the ramp to the gym.
Yeah,
Oh,
there
okay.
is a
Okay,
ramp here.
I just remembered
There's
that.
the curb cut, and the handicap parking is right here. Then the curb cut comes up to a ramp. And then the doors would be arranged so they would be easily accessible.
It seems like the electioneering area where you are allowed to electioneer is pretty small unless you're in the parking lot.
It is very small because if it rains, then you're going to have people lining up, right?
That's what it looks like from an aerial view.
Right, but I mean you'd have to be blocking the sidewalk in order
Yeah.
to be electioneering or be in the parking lot.
Yes, it's a walk-a-lot place.
Other comments? We'll be using the gym, and as I said, we'll come in. There's a vestibule outside of this door. We would come in there. We would have our voters come and go through that door. If the weather's inclement, we can have our voters line up in this reception area and come in that door.
I thought there was no AC in this room.
That's news to me.
They
But we
just,
can check it out.
as far as I know, it's air conditioned, and they just redid the ceiling. I was there while they were redoing it with insulation. All of this is new ceiling because they were doing something to make it greener with insulation.
It would be good to find out about the AC.
Okay, I'll do that.
That's a hot. When I visited, it was really horrible.
And then Praisner is one of the most popular. We've been using that center successfully since the beginning of early voting. There is our entrance, our star indicating that it's off of Old Columbia Pike, which is close to Columbia Pike and Route 29. There is our no election hearing zone, and we vote in the social hall at Praisner. Questions? Mid-County. We've used this now successfully over several elections. There is the entrance. We are off of Lay Hill Road. We do have bus transportation along Lay Hill. Excuse me. We have the ICC right there. There's the no electioneering zone. We use the social hall. Are there questions?
This has not been a particularly popular site. Do we know why?
Where does it rank?
It doesn't, pardon me?
Where does it rank? Do you remember?
Well,
We have
Damascus
the
has
rankings
fewer,
at the
and
end.
it is the next least after Damascus.
We have the rankings on the last slide, so we can look at that in a few minutes
Okay.
to see the numbers that you're
I mean, it's a nice facility, but it just, I don't know whether it's too remote or,
Well, I'm going to say one thing, that a lot of the Wheaton Community Center activities are being shifted to mid-county, and I think the population in the Wheaton area, if they go up to mid-county to participate in recreation area events, are going to probably increase participation.
Well, they're being shifted because there is no Wheaton Community Center at the moment.
I know, but my point is they're becoming educated that it's up there, so they can go there.
so you think there's
for
going to
those
be
who-
more back and forth?
11,000, let's see, Silver Spring was 21,800, and Mid-County was 11,155, and yes, it was the second lowest.
Yeah.
Margaret's comment regarding the location and just having the community realize that they do have a choice there, that they have been using the Wheaton facilities up until the time now that we've closed Wheaton.
Well, they also should be drawing from what used to go to Bauer Drive, but that didn't seem to happen either. Because, I mean, basically you have Georgia Avenue down in the middle with Mid-County on one side and Bauer Drive on the other. And for whatever reason, people just don't, their lives just don't take them in that direction.
All right, we will go forward.
Are they going to, just 1 second, I'm sort of interested in this connection to Wheaton. Are they providing any shuttles or things like that?
Not that I'm aware of.
To take people up there? And what does the transit look, the buses that go up there, is it?
Yeah, I don't know. There's 3 buses listed. I don't know where which ones they go to in what direction.
They go along Lay Hill Road, the 3 different routes.
It's
and they have stops
yeah.
right at the top of Queensguard.
It's a pretty significant distance from the Wheaton Business District. I mean, the rescue squad and the community center were already pretty far north of where the metro is, for example, and where most of the Wheaton shops are.
Even residential. Even residential.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we go forward?
Okay, I'm sorry, thank you.
It's 3.1 miles from Wheaton fire and rescue site to Mid-County.
Yeah, but what is it from the Wheaton Metro to Mid-County?
I can Google that too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do you want to get
Another mile probably.
Nancy Dasick, North Potomac Community Recreation Center is a new center. We surveyed it, and it meets all of the criteria set down by the state. Excuse me. This is the entrance. This is the location, the Star. It's right off of Travilla, and Travilla comes off of Darnestown Road, Route 28. This recreation center is designed or intended to serve the North Potomac community. The red is the no electioneering zone, and I'll say while we're here, this is the entrance. There's parking that goes down this way. There's parking that goes down this way. It's about 100 spaces. And what doesn't show on this particular map is there's a small park above these trees. It's Big Pine Park. And it has tennis courts, it has parking, and it's part of the Montgomery County Park System. So they would have the ability to park here, and then the sidewalk runs up to the park, and there's the sidewalk. It's probably a half a block. It's right above the trees.
And where's the bus stop?
The bus stop is right there.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I think the bus stop is closer to the corner. I think it's closer to the corner.
No, there's a stairway, and I was up that stairway. The bus stop's right there.
And is it all-day bus, or is it just?
As far as I know, it runs up and down Travilla.
Yeah. It's a ride-on.
Yes, it's a ride-on.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we go forward? This is the social hall. And again, this is much like many of the newer recreation centers. We would have plenty of room to shelter our voters if the weather was bad inside the building, along the corridor. Any questions? We can go forward. All right, we have Potomac Community Recreation Center, which we have used for the first time in 2016. There's the entrance, and the Star is the location off of Falls Road, and the no electioneering zone is shown there. We have asked to use the gymnasium in this building. The social hall, with the number of people that we were serving, seemed very tight. So we feel that we could work out a much better flow by using the gym for Potomac.
Yeah, because we were definitely tight there. I mean, it was great that it was so successful, but it was tight space.
And we would still be able to shelter voters out in the center area, the community center. Now, we do have some issues. We have some challenges. The parking lot is going to be part of a watershed project. It is scheduled to start the construction in the fall of 2017. The completion is anticipated to be April 2018. And now we've been working on and off with the Department of Environmental Protection, and I've been speaking with the manager over at the center. They're going to do it in stages, the parking lot, so that the center remains open, and there will be parking in the lot, but we could potentially face a delay where in April the project might not be completed. If the winter months are bad for weather, construction does
Well, we don't need it till
be
June.
delayed. We don't need it
Right,
until June.
that's just 2 months later. What she's saying is, I think, if we have a bad snow winter, which who knows,
They'll get delayed.
right?
I think it's a job for Mike Subin.
And Then second to that is we've experienced traffic congestion entering the parking lot and then re-entering Falls Road. So again, we'll be coordinating with the police department to try to mitigate any kind of congestion and ensure safety for voters.
Is the parking lot construction going to change the number of spaces? I mean, after it's completed.
And that is a legitimate question, but in my mind, I haven't heard that it's going to increase the size of the lot.
Okay.
Chris, what wasn't the main issue there? Not so much our activity, but that site had a lot of extracurricular other activities.
And they have the senior program too.
Well, they didn't want to use the gym at the time, I think, because they had some other activities, but it was the better room to use.
It's almost always the better room.
Because wasn't it second in popularity in the primary?
Yeah. Yes, it was.
And where was it in the general? Like fourth?
It was.
I think it was fourth.
It continued to be popular.
I think it was fourth.
It was popular.
Yeah, I think it might have been second.
It was popular.
It wasn't second.
It wasn't second. I think it was fourth. Second,
and then
Park was third.
Yeah,
Potomac was
And,
fourth.
Yeah,
maybe
Potomac
it was
was fourth.
fourth.
Yeah, that was
I
fourth.
think it's fourth.
Yeah, the activities there kind of
And so I understand it is the busiest rec center in the county.
It is.
They have a senior
by a lot of
program.
people
They
in
have
that
an
area.
after-school
It is also a nutrition site.
nutrition program. Yep.
And there is also a child center there as well.
right.
It is a busy center.
No? Well, yeah.
Shall we move on?
Yep.
And then we have the Sandy Spring Volunteer Fire Department. We have not, and we reviewed it just recently as an early voting center. We have used it in the past as a polling place, not in the last election, but in several cycles we have used it as a polling place. This is the entrance that the voters would use. It is an event center, so we're voting on the second floor, much like we did in Wheaton, where their ballroom was in Wheaton. It's the same situation at this fire station. Star indicates the location. The address is Brook Road in Sandy Spring. It is right off 128. There is a traffic light.
It's off of 108.
108, excuse me. There is the no electioneering zone. And there is the Oak Room. That is a ballroom, just like we were using in Wheaton.
And that's a private site?
Yes, it is.
It's
It's
private.
a volunteer fire
It's
department.
like the
just
Wheaton
Wheaton.
one.
Just like we.
Yeah, it's privately owned by the volunteers. The cost would be $500 a day, which would equate to a 10-day, $5,000 figure. For 2 elections, it would be $10,000 total.
Wow.
To lease this center.
Would you say that's accessible to only residents? Only people?
Only? Only
Yes.
residents.
I would say that it would be interesting. It would be an interesting site for the people that live in Ashton, Sandy Spring, Olney. I think that this would be a place that they would come to rather than coming into the Wheaton area.
Allison, can you ask the woman in your phone how far this is from 108 and Georgia, the center of Olney?
Well, go back.
It's pretty far.
Well, let's see
Go
how
back.
far.
Go back on the map.
Let's see how far.
Yeah.
See right there?
You can look on the map.
There's Georgia Avenue.
No, he
at
wants
the
to know.
top,
He wants to know miles.
and
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
Right
If
there.
you wanted to know what other sites, I want to know about
Yeah,
this.
no, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Mhm.
Of course.
I have a question about the second floor. How do you get there?
We have stairs, like we did at Wheaton, as well as there's an accessible elevator.
There's an elevator.
Yes, it's accessible.
2.5 miles.
That's it?
I didn't think it was as far as David thought.
2.5 miles.
That's not bad.
From here to here, it's
Huh?
2.5 miles.
2.5 miles.
That's not far at all.
Well, you wouldn't walk it.
I would.
With no sidewalk, you would?
Yeah, I would.
Well, you're more adventurous than I am.
That's about the distance from my home to my office, and I have walked it.
Well, I could walk it, but I don't think it's a normal walk.
And then here we go and address the questions that you were asking. The challenges, the oak room is on the second floor, but yes, it is accessible. There's a stairway and an accessible elevator. We would be doing the same type of initiative for signage that we worked out with Damascus, where at the corner of 108 and Brook, we would be putting out signage. There is a traffic light there, but the signage would improve the visibility at the turn off of 108 onto Brook.
Can you go back to the picture and show us where the handicap parking is?
Handicap parking is right here.
They have
Can you
same
see the
entrance and
lanes?
exit.
And the
Two parking spaces?
there's three. There's a van parking, and then there's 1, 2, there's 4.
4 parking spaces?
Now, if we deem that the 4 are not enough, we can set temporary handicap here, because there's still a curb cut in here. And whomever parked here could come down and use the curb cut to get here. And this is pretty level, all of this in here.
They have same entrance and exit. That can create a little problem.
That's the only way into the room from the corridor.
Oh, so you cannot exit in another?
I think Ms. Comey is talking about.
Well, and I think the $10,000 charge is something of an issue too.
Okay. Okay.
Shall we go on?
Yeah.
Silver Spring Civic, our most popular since the beginning of early voting. There's the entrance. The star indicates where we are on the map, and as you'll notice, we're close to Colesville. We're a block off of Colesville and within walking distance of the metro, the Silver Spring Metro.
Yeah, but I have a problem with the handicap issue.
The handicap, we are going to have to be diligent about marking that back ramp on what they consider the front of their building. It's actually the address. This is Veterans Place here, and the building address is one Veterans Place. So the ramp is on what we think of as the back of the building.
But the last election, there was a problem. The handicap door did not work, and the lady, first of all, was drove her wrong side of the street because our website didn't say correctly, and then there's no parking on the street for handicap.
No.
I mean, they have to park across the street and then walk through
and
all
in
of
fact,
that thing.
you know what? There is. You could have handicap parking at the top of the hill. You know where the ramp starts down?
Yeah.
Right back there.
Yeah.
You can designate parking spaces there, but you have to put very good signage.
But I understand. I remember Mike said that Silver Spring area, so they don't have a control over to reserve some of those parking space for handicap. I remember that. If anybody remember, we cannot assign parking space on the street.
The reason.
I remember that he said this is beyond our control versus EOB, which they could change it.
Whose control is it under?
They said the city of Silver.
There's no.
That area. I don't know.
Like
somebody controlled it.
the transit district or something. Because there is no city government.
Because the reason I'm asking is because we had an event there with the Latino Democratic Club, and we had people who had complained about from the previous years, including me, because I didn't know how to with my mom. So they gave us parking at the top of the hill, and they just put signage there for. So
who did that?
The civics, the civic center asked them, and they gave us
But anyhow,
And they said yeah because we had asked and they were in, and I also think we had filed a complaint with them, and I think that's what kind of
because
did
that
it.
site can be assigned to them, but then somebody has to get the permission. They have to put the sign there.
And I think if you do it with enough time, I think they will be willing because it's poorly designed.
Yeah.
It really is,
it's
because you
very
have
bad.
no clue when you see what we think of as the front of the building
Right,
there, where all the activity is and where
didn't know
everybody
that.
and all the
All the money
signs,
they
the
spend on it.
campaigning signs. You never would think to go back to what looks like the loading dock, and it is the loading
Because
dock.
people drop people off thinking there's an entrance at the bottom, and then you have to walk all the way up the hill,
Yeah.
all around the ramp, and then you have to push the button and
And it
pray
doesn't work.
somebody will come and open it.
The door didn't work, and we had to
Agree.
have a guard to come over and all of
Well,
that. It was a problem. It is a
I
problem.
will say that I believe Mr. Roush and Ms. Williams are especially good to us. They are the ones that manage the building, and we can work with them and,
Would you
and,
please, yes.
and
Because
make arrangements.
Eric
that
Eric
door
is the
better
one.
accessible.
Because Eric is the one who worked on us, and Gabe Munoz sent a letter, and the ICB sent a letter to whoever the powers may be to make that happen. So I'm sure if we do it ahead of time, we can have a few spaces
And I
up
think
there.
it's a major problem. At least we have to solve it.
Okay, we'll, like I say, they're very good. They're very anxious to have this accommodate our voters, so we'll do some serious arrangements there. Then we were talking about the Van Gogh. The Van Gogh is free within Silver Spring. We were talking about making special arrangements for it to run later. The hours now have been extended, so we won't have to ask for it. They run up until 2 a.m. in the morning now, so we'll be good. We'll be covered. Voters will be able to get through Silver Spring on Van Gogh all day into the evening and get back and forth between home and the Civic Center on
And
Van
also
Gogh
you
if
have
they
to,
choose to.
to have to pay on the public parking.
The parking is public paid parking, yes, but Van Gogh is free to the people that are going through Silver Spring. This is the no electioneering zone. This is the room. We'll be using the Great Hall again. It has been reserved. Upper County has been an alternate site throughout the early voting cycles. This is the entrance. The star shows its location. It is close to Wood Field, which is 124. It's close to Mid-County. It's off of Emery Grove and Washington Grove Lane. It has a Gaithersburg address. This shows the no electioneering. And we will be using the social hall in that location. Are there questions?
Chris, have we ever had to use an alternate site?
No. Westfield Wheaton Mall. We have been working with Westfield Management. This is the location, the door that they are recommending that we use. It is across from a parking garage. And the star indicates where the mall is. It's in between University and Georgia. It is about a half a block away from the Wheaton Metro. And there are several bus routes. There's one bus that goes right in on the campus of the mall. And it's Route 9.
So where is it? I'm sorry. So where's it exactly located? I'm trying to visualize it.
It would be.
It's
on the lower level. It's
excuse me.
Yeah, it's a.
It's on the lower level. It's near Joanne and Dick's. We have photos that'll show you.
better. It's the location.
Oh, I know exactly. Between Joanne and Dick's, that entrance?
That entrance that goes into Joanne's.
That entrance right there.
That's the entrance to a corridor. You walk up that corridor.
Yeah.
It's at the end of the corridor.
Dick's is on the left.
Yep.
Costco is one
Yeah,
floor.
on the top.
Did they show you a variety of sites within the mall?
No, we were going to get to that. There are no storefronts available at this time. They would only negotiate if something was available.
Just get to the next slide.
Okay. This is the
next
location.
slide.
This is the no electioneering zone. At this point in time, we have no permission to conduct electioneering, soliciting on the campus, inside or out. Now, I have been talking with 2 other jurisdictions, one in Sarasota, Florida, and one in Riverside, where they've used Westfield locations, Westfield Corporation locations.
Uh-huh.
And they were allowed to do campaigning 100 feet off of the door. Now, I'm working with these people to get some information about who gave them that permission and how I can contact these.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Excellent.
This is the location that they have designated that we would vote in. It is an open area. At this end is where the glass doors are. This end is where Joanne and Dick's is off to the left. This area, total area, is about 3,200 square feet. We would vote in one half of this area, about where the planters are. We would be voting here, and that shows in your book what the location would look like. This area here would be divided up between the patrons that are coming and going from the mall, and then along this area right here, we would have space for the voters to line up and enter at this end to vote. So if we go forward, now we're looking from the other end of the corridor. The sliding glass doors down there, we have the planters. We would be voting in this area up to this glass half partition. This is the entrance to Dick's right here. And right down here is where Joanne's is. Then when we go forward, this is the same area that we were just looking at, but looking down the mall from Dick's and Joanne.
And those stairs are the ones that take you up to Costco?
To Costco.
Right.
Costco is above.
So can I'm a little bit confused, I'm sorry. So if we're in a hallway?
Yes. Correct.
Whoops.
And they're going to be able to block
You're
that
telling me
entrance?
they have no empty places?
They will not discuss anything as far as leases go until much closer to the election.
And
next
and I'm
spring,
sorry,
like about April.
How much would this cost to be in the hallway?
This is gratis. We do not.
Right,
This is what?
because we're in a hallway.
Oh, that's why we're in the hallway.
That
That makes sense.
So-
Well, I mean, security-wise, isn't it a nightmare?
Oh my God, yeah.
So-
Like you will have
so-
anybody walking.
so
where
if we
people
wanted-
voting,
if we
how
had
do you
money-
control it?
Would they rent us a storefront?
If they're not, if we want to enter a 1 or 2 year lease, yes, I imagine we could.
Okay.
But we're not going to be able to enter into a 1 year, 2 year lease.
How did Sarasota and whoever else do it?
Well, that's they
were-
did it in the hallway or
They
in
were
the
in
mall.
an open area like this.
And what we would do is we would have to rent the stanchions with the high curtains and put a privacy area. We would have to bring in security, county security to secure.
Well, and
we would have to
Can
pull
I-
It's too small a
But can
area.
I just say something? So, the county pretty much leases all of South Tower. They're in the process right now of moving all their programs, including a clinic, their mental health services program, the mammogram program, all these other programs into Westfield Mall. they already rent. Montgomery College has a program with Montgomery County. There's an economic development program that they do. I mean, there's like all these other. I mean, Montgomery County has a very good relationship with Westfield Mall. So I'm finding it hard to swallow the fact that they will not work with us, since the county is such a good tenant. And I think also they are actually in the process of building some apartments or townhouses in the back where the county is willing to support that build-up. So I'm thinking there's a very good relationship for a couple of weeks in the summer and a couple of weeks in the fall. I just find it hard to believe that we would not be able to. I mean, granted, it doesn't have to be in the exact same place, but for 2 weeks, you know, we could be in the mall in a room, like human beings,
with a door.
No. So I'm just thinking, have we talked to Dave Dice or Councilman Navarro, which is one of the people who has negotiated all that with the mall and has a very good relationship, and she, you know, the Board of Election kind of is under her committee to see if they could explore the possibility of actually doing something better. I'm just asking, have we?
I'm just telling you that if we want to say we're going to be at the Wheaton Mall and we want to pay, you know, at May 1st, they say, you're going to get this space. The thing is we have to submit the location and all of this material that we always traditionally do, and the testing for all of that in November.
Right.
And you're saying that you're willing to take any old place that they decide to throw us at on May 1st, and whatever place they decide to throw us at in October.
I didn't say that.
Well, that's what they're saying to us.
Well, for free, I guess they would throw any old place. But I'm saying, have we approached the mall to rent in a specific area for those couple? Is that a possibility? That was my question. And have we talked to Dave Dice and those folks who do negotiations with the Wheaton Mall to see if part of those negotiations, since we are going to be one of the major renters of the mall, the county government is, to see if they can work with us. That was my question. We would be happy
to contact the Department of General Services and see if they can intercede on behalf of the Board of Elections.
The other thought, and I don't know anything about it, would be whether the county would entertain a sublease from the Board of Elections.
That's a good idea.
They have so much space.
Right.
Maybe we could swallow off some of their space.
Right.
For early voting.
On a temporary basis.
Give it back to them once that's done.
This is the only year, 2018 is the only year we really need it, presuming we're going to move into the new community center when it's finished for 2020. So this election cycle. But
Kevin, how do we do that?
I think Margaret needs to reach out to David Dice and figure out who's handling their real estate leasing and see what can be done in terms of space.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, I know there was a time when there were more vacant spaces in the Wheaton Mall, but I've been down there a fair amount lately. My daughter spends a lot of time there, and there's not really. I think I saw 2 smallish spaces that had the white boards up that they were in the process of converting something around. I don't know. I don't remember whether there's anything that the.
Chris and I walked around there trying to find an open storefront, and we only found one. We did the upper level looking for we did not look for empty storefront on the lower level, knowing that we have this hallway.
Go ahead. I will say, when I've been visiting Wheaton, I've gone all over the campus. I've talked to LA Fitness. I talked to AMC. I talked to Anna Mendez. I talked to the people in the building that you're referring
South
to.
Tower.
That's back behind
Right.
Anna.
Mhm.
There are different places. The only one that I can say that I have no definitive answer on right now is LA Fitness. I have a call going back and forth to talk to them. I thought possibly in a fitness center they would have an open room where they conduct classes like dance classes or Zumba or those kinds of things, and I didn't know if they would be interested in hosting us during the early voting.
Yeah, because the Ana Jimenez room would just be too small for you guys.
And
That's a problem. I know they would love to do it, but it's just, it would be too
the
small.
room is too small
Yeah.
for early voting.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of reliably getting a 2,000 or 3,000 square foot area, I don't know that we can count on there being a vacant space. The hallway may be what we would be limited to in any event.
Well, maybe you could also look into the South Tower and see if there's...
Yeah, if the county's giving up space there, isn't that what?
Well, no, the county's renting space
County
there. They're
acquiring
moving.
space there.
Oh, that's where they're going.
That's where they're going, yeah, to the South Tower.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know when that building's going to be demolished. That's the other thing. I know they're in the process of moving, but I don't know the building that is right by the Wheaton Metro.
The Reedy
Drive.
The Reedy Drive. I don't know exactly when that's going to be, because if they're already in the process, some of like the clinic is already in the process of moving, and that's a pretty big space. I don't know when they're
looked
scheduled.
at that room in past elections for early voting. It's small. I know that that building eventually will be part of Montgomery County Parks, and I envision that building coming down once Wheaton campus is totally ready. The building then will be constructed for Wheaton Parks.
Chris, I think
Montgomery
County Park. I think it'd be worth having a conversation with the rec department to see, because I know the clinic, Proyecto Salud, is in the process of moving in the next 3 weeks to South Tower, and that's pretty much half of the whole second floor, and there's an elevator, and that's a big area.
This is the Reedy building?
This is the Reedy building,
It's
yeah.
the mid-county.
Right, and then
regional
the
center.
other half of the top floor is the mental health program, which they're going to be moving in the fall. So then you will have that whole top second floor probably, and if it's not coming down to, because they still have to move the other programs in the first floor, and how things move so slowly in the county, it might still be standing by the end of 2018. I think it's worth exploring
We can talk
and
to
seeing.
Mr. Dice
We
about
can certainly talk to David Dice and their property managers about the facilities at the old Mid-County Regional Center. It was not acceptable 2 years ago, but we can look at it again.
And then the challenge at Westfield are all of the issues and challenges that you've already spoken to. We have been denied storefront at this point. We would be able to talk to them about a lease next April for a storefront, but that wouldn't guarantee us a storefront for November if we were able to get in the spring. Utilities are an issue, displaying signage is an issue with them, campaigning, and definitely security in that open location will all be challenges that we will have to overcome in order to make that a viable space. Mall management at this point is asking us not to consider campaigning on their campus.
When you say mall management, are you talking to a specific person who's in charge of Wheaton Mall? Is that what you're
General
saying?
manager
The general manager of Wheaton
at
Mall.
Westfield Wheaton.
So, and have you discussed with them what you learned about other Westfield locations?
No, I have not.
Oh,
but
okay.
That's what we're pursuing. We're gathering our information so that we can have that conversation.
Great.
Each one of them have their own rule and regulation, and that means that they have to follow what the other state is doing.
Right, but it also gives you a precedent to cite. If they say we never do this, the answer is, well, you do at this place and this place. I mean, why is our situation that much different than those other places? I mean, that would and it also depends on how much they want the county's business and the county to be happy, and
It's only a couple of weeks.
Right. I mean, it's 2 10-day periods.
Shall we move on then? We've got White Oak Community Recreation Center. We have not used this as an early voting center. It was surveyed as an early voting center. We do presently use it as a polling place.
Oh, that's right.
On election day. This is the entrance. The star indicates where the building is in relationship to Route 29, Columbia Pike. This is Silver Spring and Press. We have the no electioneering marked. And this is the social hall. There are no issues. Whoops.
Oh.
How do I get that?
It's on the laptop. It's just
So, one of the things that we were going to ask is that, with the permission of the board, to strike Brookside Gardens off as an early voting center. We may use it as a aiming site, because it does have classrooms.
Which one?
Brookside. Brookside Gardens.
Brookside
to strike
Gardens.
Brookside out of the list.
Absolutely.
And we say, yay.
What about Brookside?
To strike it.
Brookside
She said
Gardens.
she would like to strike it out as a early voting center.
Brookside.
Yes.
Marianne, are you saying that because of the square footage? Is that the biggest issue?
I'm saying because it was just too small and it had bad access. I mean, it was remote in there.
Does anybody object to striking it?
No.
Okay. So that's it.
So, what the staff plans to do then is to post on the website under early voting and under what's new, a link of these early voting sites that are under review tomorrow morning.
The 18.
The 18 that are left, so that's correct.
Can I ask a question? I realize that I was solicited for my ideas before, but I had one while sitting here, which I apologize for not having sooner. But have you looked at the new firehouse that's at Georgia and Randolph?
At Glenmont, yes.
Yes.
I went in and talked to them, and I reviewed their room. The room is small. It's about half the size of this, and that's the only space
With
that
all
would be
the
available.
money, they built such a small room.
It's considered their training room, and
That's even small if it's a training room.
That's all they have. Okay.
Wow.
we
Well,
only have 35 parking spaces as well.
Okay. That's a problem too.
I know we've all been, just trying to scour our brains with regard to Wheaton, but I'm getting very concerned.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, just so you know, the State Board of Elections technically does not legally notify us to begin the early voting site selection until July, and I forget the exact date. So we do have some time. We've looked at a lot of spaces that either are too small or thank you but no thank you is the reaction. They are not interested in hosting our event. So what we would like to do is just get this posted on the website so that the public can begin the process of commenting on it, to allow the public to comment in the June meeting and in the July meeting and in the September meeting. In September, have some sort of public event that public can comment on, and that's something that the board can decide. And then to make your decision in October.
Can I just add something on the Longwood Community Rec Center? I personally feel that if you don't have public transportation the whole day, I don't think we should consider a center like that.
It was approved by the State Board of Elections 2 years ago.
I understand it was
viable.
approved, but I'm
Which
saying
one? I'm sorry.
The
No, it
Brookville.
Yeah, it
Brookville. Along with
was
community center, it has only AM and evening,
Not the end of the process.
and it doesn't have.
No, why? Because you don't have anything in that area. But those people that live in the area, they have the right to have a center closer to them. I mean, we have everything. If you look at that, look at the war zone in Silver Spring.
Even
there's nothing up there.
Sandy Spring is even better than that because at least it has better public transportation. But Longwood has, Sandy Spring Fire
But
Department.
I still want to think about Silver Spring. Sandy Spring and Longwood. So we have
I think
to
when you don't have-
consider those people which they go out to have a better life for their family. I mean, we shouldn't ignore them.
Well, Grace,
The
you
same
think about
thing
it this
with
way,
Damascus.
Potomac ended up being very popular. And
I was pushing for since the beginning of the
Potomac is
century.
very dense. I don't know if you've been there, Alex, to the Longwood, but I did, and I was not impressed by the building, by the handicap access, and by the fact that it has no all-day public transportation. That's what I'm saying. But
No,
Potomac is one of the most used rec centers in the county to begin with.
But people who went there were not using public transportation to get there. They were driving there. That was my point. That's not the only consideration.
Right, but I'm saying you look at the density of people living in Potomac, you cannot compare it to.
But that shouldn't be a criteria of removing early voting center. If I want to go have a better space for my family, for my kids, if I go to there, I shouldn't.
But that's
be
what you
penalized
have.
for
You
it.
have Sandy Spring Volunteer Fire Department.
But I like to have both of them.
Okay, no,
have
I'm
an
just giving my
option to look
opinion.
at
You
them.
don't have to get all.
Which one? The Sandy Spring.
Yeah.
Well, Sandy Spring is a much more
shouldn't
desirable,
eliminate them. That's
but
my
the
point.
problem with that is the $10,000.
Yes.
He's saying
But
that
I
too.
am sort of surprised in Olney. I mean, I'm out there quite a bit because I sadly have a sister-in-law in a nursing home out there.
That there's no
And
other places.
it just seems to me, is there anything with the theater?
The only theater?
I mean, again, I guess there'd be a charge when they're. I'm wondering what kind
During the
of space.
summertime, they have, students have their
this is
training classes, and in the fall, they're probably using the theater to either rehearse or do plays.
I just thought they had some.
Good
space.
Counsel is up there, but they also have a summer.
Yeah, good counsel.
summer
Yeah,
program.
But in the fall, they've got school.
Right.
I agree with Naheed. At least we should leave it for the time being for people to comment.
Well, what about the high school? No? At least for the first.
The board has, in the past, has not entertained the thought of moving from one location to the next. The board can always change their mind about that.
Isn't that
between a primary and a general?
Isn't that a state law issue?
Well, it is, but and I think we rightfully, for any number of reasons, don't want to move things around. But I think if there was, extenuating circumstances that required it, believe me, I've been to a lot of state board meetings where they grant exceptions all the time on these.
Well, you're going to keep looking, right, in that area? Only?
Because the high school's
But I
further.
mean, I think, Naheed, do you know
there's nothing
the
else
area
out
there
there.
at all? I mean, to think of some other
There's a lot
places?
of military, a lot of police officers, a lot of people which they work downtown.
No, I'm
to
talking about
rent,
locations.
to
though.
Location is okay. I don't see
We need
any problem.
ideas of
Like
places.
Damascus is when we were talking, was Damascus. Nobody lives there. This is in Boomstown. What does it make a difference? Still, we should keep those areas.
No, we're talking about Olney.
Oh, I don't disagree, but there are people there. I mean, that's.
Yeah, Olney's a growing. They have
They have
growing.
Oh, yeah.
And there's
Yeah,
also a lot of
center,
development
which
in
is
Olney,
the
but I'm
other-
talking near the high
Yeah, nice
school, like the
center,
high
which
school.
are a populated area. So let's go some area which is
New.
Let me
serve them.
let me ask
Look at the map.
May I ask a question, Margaret? You said that the process doesn't officially start as far as the state is concerned until July.
Correct.
And we're going to post our list, which I think is a great idea, to post our list right away. Is it possible to let the public know that if they have ideas to submit them, so that if there are other places out there that we haven't thought of, that we can collect them. It sounds like if we're early enough in the process, we could still be evaluated in time. And
Sure. We could add something.
and maybe you can have a dedicated email box or something. Whatever way will be the easiest way to.
We would just give the generic elections.
Okay, just as long as you have a way of staying on top of those, because.
Yeah, and then it expands our
email
outreach
we
issue.
look at the email box.
A lot.
Elections.
Yeah.
Absentee. Voter services.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Great. So I think that would at least give the possibility if someone out there has an idea that we haven't heard of or haven't thought of. Thank you.
Chris, that was excellent. Thank you.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. No, the whole thing.
Yes, thank you.
Turn the lights back on for you people now.
I didn't even realize it had darkened.
Wow.
Yeah.
This must have been a lot of work.
Oh, this book, I know.
Yeah, no, not just the book. The work that led to the book.
Oh, I know.
I mean, all the running around and the photographs.
But the detail in the book is so good.
Yeah.
I really.
Is the material in the book also available to people if they want it, or is that only for us?
It'll be on the website.
The whole
The whole book will be on, except it's going to be broken out.
By
By
site.
site.
That's fine. Just as long as people have access to that information.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, that's super.
Thank you.
Okay. So we will get these locations updated and placed on the early voting website, on our website under the early voting tab. And we will put something under what's new. And then we will add some sort of line that says suggestions or recommendations. Please contact or send us an email at whatever. Okay. Is there anything else with regards to early voting that the board wishes to discuss that we haven't discussed?
Is it going to be a topic for the next meeting, and if so?
Yes, it'll be a topic for the June meeting, the July meeting. Historically, the board has always had at least 3 meetings in which the public could comment about the early voting sites.
Can we put that on the website?
Yeah, sure.
You know that. Yeah.
And maybe, some of us could go in groups and look at some of the places that, we're thinking for a new site, or are we in agreement with keeping the 10 we have, or we're not even there yet, are we? Really, everything.
And have the one Beaton though.
Yeah, you're right. We only have
So
9.
it's 9.
Yeah.
You can have the 9 and then.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mary Ann, when we first went through this, for the first elections, Mary Ann's philosophy, which I now agree with 100%, is that the longer you keep a place at the same place, the stronger it gets. So I lean towards that philosophy.
Okay.
As to the 10 we already have in place.
We cannot have them.
Yeah.
So. 9. You lost Wheaton. We can't go back to the ball.
No, okay. But
so you have 9 other locations.
When is the rec center scheduled for completion?
It's not going to be ready
And
until
also, Marvin,
December 2018 at the very earliest.
Didn't almost a third of our voters vote early?
I think it was 25%.
I thought it was more than that.
I don't
believe we topped a third. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And early voting is very popular. So Mary Ann's philosophy is something I think we should try and follow. Because it's working, and it's working better each cycle.
Oh, why?
I.e. Damascus.
we caught your drift.
It grows.
We caught your drift.
Even the chair of the state board said we should keep it there because we have to keep rural people acknowledged.
We love those
Even
rural
if
workers, that's right.
I may move there.
Okay.
Then I will fight more.
All right. Staff understands what needs to go up on the website, right, Janet? Okay. And we need some language
to the early voting, what's new, that encourages people to send their suggestions.
And or come to our meeting.
Or come to the meeting. Okay. All right, is there anything else? Yeah. So what we will include is that if they wish to comment on potential early voting sites, they should contact the board to sign up in advance and to speak to the board at the next meeting, or July meeting, or September meeting.
Or they can do it in writing.
Or they can do it in writing.
I would lead with doing it in writing,
Yeah.
just because otherwise that's all we'll be doing.
Okay.
But somehow, if we're asking for ideas of locations, we don't want people to think they can come in September with a new idea. I mean, or can they? I mean, is that too tight to?
Well, it would be too tight if it were 15 locations, if it's just one or two. The
Okay.
biggest thing is the connectivity and making sure we have enough electrical.
Well, and then you also may get people who are just going to randomly throw out places they've been, who have no connection to those places, and that doesn't necessarily. I mean, that could help if it might be helpful, but it might not be.
So perhaps, if I may, perhaps wording could be done to an extent that anyone who knows of any other sites for consideration should notify us in writing, and anyone who wants to speak to those that are under consideration may sign up to speak at a future board meeting.
Or do it right.
Yeah.
Or do it in writing.
Yeah.
But
I like that. But the new ones don't just show up. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be good.
That would be good.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay.
What about sites rejected? Already.
Brookside?
Well, have you had others throughout the seasons that you have rejected because they didn't work? Is there a short list of those so that you don't just keep getting those repeated?
Not really. I mean,
If they're not on this list, then that means that they're not meeting a set of staff criteria for a site that we can.
Yeah, there have been some in the past that we've, taken off, like the Bethesda Service Center.
Right.
And comes to mind. I think there might have been one or two others.
But someone could certainly suggest that we
Look at the Bethesda Service Center.
Yeah, well, that's fine, and we know that it's got connectivity issues and problems.
it's broken up.
Huh?
All those small rooms.
Yeah. Now it's really.
But it sounded like from what you said, Margaret, that connectivity issues, they require effort, but they sometimes can be solved.
Yes, they can.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Just don't make ES and E, whatever the group name is, the state use them, not them solve the problem.
Oh, yes, I agreed.
What was that?
Yes and S.
Yes and S.
Yes, they might solve it in time for 2022.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the connectivity issue is all in-house. It's the state board. So we don't have to go
Thank
to
you.
third party. The only thing that we ever do is talk to Verizon because, like the derecho when it blew through.
Right.
Kind
Thank
of
you,
messed up
Margaret.
things.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, polling place changes. We have a preliminary list, but we would, staff is recommending that we lay this over. There's a few more places that we believe that should be presented to the board. The ones that you see on this list are, for the most part, returning to the location because of school construction. The school is constructed and they're done.
Where do you have that?
How many are we talking about, Margaret?
Where did you get that?
Right
from?
now, there's
in our thing?
6, 8.
Oh, that's not there.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah,
And it's actually 7 sites because one of them's a consolidated.
okay. That's not there.
Yeah, why are we doing those two precincts together?
One of them is tiny,
Okay.
I believe.
Did they both used to vote at Wheaton Woods, or is one of them moving from where it was before?
Yes, returning after renovations is the reason for change.
So both cases they used to.
Well,
be-
1370, I mean, that precinct has like less than 40 people.
Oh, okay.
It's one of these
Okay.
exceptionally wondrous
It's
Okay.
consolidated with
redistricted.
1343.
Mhm. Right.
And that was the situation in 2016, where they had the two precincts together.
Okay.
And then 1367, Tacoma Park Rec Center, the two precincts were merged together. We're splitting them back up, and the site is Baco Cristo Rey, Boco?
Bosco,
Bosco.
John Bosco.
From Bosco
Cristo Rey High School. It has, at least is entertaining the thought that they will allow us to conduct elections there. We're moving out of Herbert Hoover Middle School, which was housing two precincts, back to Wayside Elementary. Returning after renovation, Thurgood Marshall Elementary back to Brown Station. Only Swim Club back to Farquhar Middle School. Quince Orchard Library, there is just no space. It's the size, maybe half the size of this room. And so we're suggesting that it move across the street to the Quince Orchard High School.
Is there another precinct in the high school?
Yes, there is.
But it can accommodate.
The high school can accommodate it, but
Yeah.
Quince Orchard Library is just a disaster.
Okay.
And then coming out of the Shady Grove Presbyterian Church into Redland Middle School. We've had a couple of issues at the church. One was the bell tower was being constructed or being fixed, which created some problems. And then another time, unfortunately, there was a funeral coinciding with our voting. So we would kind of like to get out of the church and move into a school which is, mandated to accept us. So this is not the final list. We would like to bring this list back to you next month with a more expansive list. We really focus more on early voting, but these are just something that you could think about.
You're going to be bringing the same kind of maps of the area as you have in the past?
Yes,
Okay.
we will.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay?
And I guess I would like to know if, in the suggested change, if it means they're going to be in a shared facility.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I see where, you're indicating moving out of a shared facility, but I also think it's important if we see somebody's moving into one and
Okay.
why.
Thank you. That's the end of my report.
Guess it's me.
Oh, Tacoma Park, yeah.
So the city of Tacoma Park met and voted to change the date of their election to coincide with the 2020 election cycle.
Oh.
So they're not with us in 2018?
Not 2018, but moving forward 2020.
Oh, okay.
That's going to give them an opportunity. I think the thought was it gives them an opportunity to stagger the term limits for those individuals that are coming in to a 3-year term.
Yeah.
To a 3-year term. So
So
they'll only be coinciding with us for one election.
Yeah, well, they'll have an election in this fall, November of
2017.
2017, and then the next election, so that whoever's elected then will serve 3 years, and then they'll be on the ballot 2020, November of 2020.
And then will they continue to have 3-year terms? So they'll be
No.
No.
Then
they'll be coinciding with us.
One-time fix.
Got it.
Well, Kevin, can this board bind the next board? Because that 2020 is not this board.
Well, all we're doing is
Saying we're sharing the space.
we're sharing the space. That's it.
The new board may not want to do that.
Well, statutorily, they can ask. I mean, that's what the statute that passed would permitted this to happen in the first place.
Oh, wow.
So they can come back in 2019 and ask for that to happen.
Okay. So I think, Mary Ann, you had an item for new business?
I do. I believe all the board members and Kevin as our attorney and Margaret as election director received my email with the attached letter explaining the reason for looking at the issue now that we are at the halfway mark of our term, and the issue that originally existed at the time this board gathered to elect officers. I don't think I need to go into the details. I spelled it out, I thought, pretty clearly in the letter. That being the case, I would like to offer my resignation as secretary to the board at this time. As you know, our bylaws require that when we have a vacancy in an officer position, we are to fill it either at the next board meeting or within 30 days, whichever is sooner. This came about because we had a longer period of time without a secretary at one time. Because our next board meeting is longer than the 30 days, we therefore need to elect a secretary at this meeting. And with that being the case, I would like to nominate David Naiman as board secretary.
And I'd like to second that.
Is there any discussion?
Well, Jim, yeah, I think this is something I have a problem with. None of us knew there was some kind of secret deal that was made. When I cast my vote for Mary Ann at the beginning of the term, I was expecting she would serve a full term. But there's no real charitable or easy way to say this, David, but it's the way that you've conducted yourself over the last 2 years has kind of laid a trail of destruction that's touched almost everyone on this board and everyone on the staff. And the resentment, the anger that is provoked in this smolders even to this day. I think you have used the position to wage political war against the Republican members in a particularly vicious and cruel way. And I'm not going to go into the details, but I'm just not prepared to support you for secretary. And I don't think it's the right thing to do. I've had my differences with Mary Ann, but I'm not going to support this change at this time. I don't think it's the right thing to do.
May I just speak to that comment, please? I really take issue with Alex with calling it a secret deal. The fact of the matter is, 2 years ago, I came to you and all the board members seeking your support to be elected board secretary. And David was also a candidate and called everybody too, I'm assuming. And we were both told by, in my case, I was told by all of you that, hey, you folks, the Democrats, need to resolve this yourself and come up with your candidate. We don't want to be the deciding factor. Of course, there are only 2 of us and 3 of you as voting members, so for somebody to be elected, we, have to pick up somebody from the other side. Or in the case where we're both candidates, we got to pick up 2 votes. So the fact that, and this was reiterated to me more than once, at least 2 or 3 times. So David and I, in that spirit, got together to see if we could resolve it, because that's what you were told. Nothing secret about it. We were ordered to do that, if you will, by the board majority. And that's what
doing that.
Pardon me?
I don't recall doing that.
You didn't say we had to. You told me many times, Nikki, you have to figure it out.
I never said you solved the problem. You do it between two. I just.
You said you and David have to. I'm sorry, but you absolutely did. As did Jim, as did Alex.
I'm losing my memory. I stay out of it. I stay neutral. I said, do whatever.
Mary Ann, let me say this. I mean, the details of how this was going to be done were never revealed. Now, my impression.
What difference would it have made?
Well, I think it might have made a difference. I mean, look, when we said that, my expectation was that you were going to make a decision and that person was going to be the secretary for the full term. But, it's not only that. I have my own other issues with David, as he well knows. It's the two things together. But it was never revealed to me that there was an arrangement that you were going to split the term. I think that's true. And maybe someone else knew about it on the board. I did not.
No, at the time that it was done, David and I came to the resolution, and we came forward with the nomination of me, which made sense because I had been the former board president, and I think it provided good transition. But as I said, this really is the result of what you folks wanted us to do, resolve it. And this was the most equitable resolution. And I, as a person who I've spent my whole life between government service, negotiating union contracts, and most recently as an ethics advisor to Microsoft, my word is my bond, and this was the resolution of it, and that's why I'm moving forward today. I've known David Naiman for almost 30 years. We have been personal friends and colleagues. And as you all know, many a time sitting at this board table, I have been on the opposite side of David on issues and fought tooth and nail on things. But David Naiman is an upstanding citizen. He's a skilled lawyer, and I have never known him to not be doing and taking positions for what he felt was best for the citizens of Montgomery County, voters of Montgomery County, who we all represent. And therefore, I have no hesitation in making this motion.
Did you want to say?
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you, Mary Ann, for nominating me and for those kind words. From my perspective, I'm not involved in a political war with anybody. I know that I am a zealous advocate for my point of view, and sometimes an overzealous advocate for my point of view. But it's not based on party. It is based on the merits as I see them. Alex, I'm sorry if you don't see it that way, and I'm sorry not to have your support. My recollection of the conversations I had with each of the three of you, I believe all of them were in person, 2 years ago, was very similar to Mary Ann's. That we were being asked to reach an agreement between us, and that's what we did. I personally did not talk about what that agreement was because I didn't want to undermine Mary Ann, and I felt that if I, that to talk about that would had the potential to do that. I think that this board has done a lot together, and we've been most effective when we have been together. And I'm hoping that that's what the future will hold.
Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor of David Naiman becoming secretary, say aye.
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 All those opposed? No. That's defeated. Do we have a nominee? Alex?
Well, and I appreciate Mary Ann for honoring her word. That was certainly the honorable thing to do, but in my view, I think she should remain as secretary, and I would therefore nominate Mary Ann Keefe to become the secretary again.
The second night?
Second.
Any discussion?
Well,
do you want to say anything?
it's a little troubling, but I don't know what the situation. I mean, we can't have a vacant position. I mean, I don't think we can have a vacant position.
Well,
we shouldn't have a vacant position.
You can have a vacant position for a period of time, but obviously not forever. Well, let me speak to it. First of all, I'm very disappointed by that vote, and I would be interested away from the board table to get whatever feedback you'd like to give that's more specific. I do think there's an important principle here that you guys actually pushed on us that I think was a good principle. And that principle was that you all would decide who represents your side and that we would decide who represents our side. And neither Marianne nor I were moving in that direction 2 years ago when you all pretty much said to us, work it out, decide for yourselves, don't put us in that position, which is exactly what we did. Now you're proposing to decide for us who is the representative from our side, and that represents a change of position, and I think not a good one. And I'm disappointed that is the position you're taking.
Any other further?
Mr. President, I don't agree that it's a change in position because I think that directive was premised on whatever was going to be agreed was going to be publicly announced to us so that we would know what we were getting into.
Never stated.
Well, that was the expectation.
Right.
Any other comment?
Let me just say, David and I, we took that directive seriously. We spent an entire Sunday afternoon eating a whole coffee cake and drinking a lot of coffee and discussing the situation. And I mean, obviously, as two good friends, it was a very difficult thing at that time. I mean, when I was board president, I solicited David to come on as a board member when we had a vacancy right in the very beginning of my term, and so I felt strongly that it was good for transition that as having been board president, I could function well as secretary, and I think I'm very pleased with the work we've been able to do. But because we had to work out some accommodation, we couldn't share the position as co-secretaries, and you all didn't want to take sides on it at that time. That's how we arrived at it. It was not ever meant to be anything secretive or.
Can I say something, Mr. President?
Sure.
So, as the youngest member of this board, and I know I don't get to vote, but I do recall that was the directive, and I believe it was very clear.
Did we do it in a public meeting? Do we have a note or something, minute, that you said that?
Can I finish?
No, I'm just asking.
Can I finish?
You can finish, but I just want to know if we talk about it.
I think we talked to each other, and I think it was very clear, and the feeling from your side was you guys work it out among yourselves, because we don't want to take a position on it. And I think what David and Marianne did is they did work it out. And now you're saying you don't recall? That's okay. People have pretty bad memories.
But I never said that.
I'm telling you that's
what I said. If I said that, I remember I said neutral. Always I'm neutral. Whatever you decide.
Right.
Second,
you were neutral and saying you guys work it out.
Had the thing that the secretary or president served 2 years and then resign and somebody else. Our appointment is for 4 years. When we select somebody officer, it's for 4 years. We don't make a deal and say you stay 2 years, I stay 2 years. That wasn't. I do have respect for both of them. I'm not saying I'm talking about the logistic of it. Being in the board for longer than you guys, never happened. Never happened. We voted for a person to be secretary or president, vice president, whatever, was for 4 years.
Can I finish?
Not midterm change. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. The fact that it never happened doesn't mean it's against the bylaws. Kevin, is it against the bylaws to do that?
It's not against the bylaws.
I didn't say it's against the bylaws.
I just wanted to clarify exactly. The fact that it never happened, it doesn't mean it's against the bylaws. It was a very clear directive, which Marianne and David did.
Then we should.
And I just wanted to put it on the record.
For 2 years, and somebody else I will resign 2 years. Somebody else will come another 2 years. Because if you think about it, the whole board has to vote on the person. So you cannot make a deal. I say 2 years, you say 2 years. That's the end of the deal. The rest of us, we are not a part of the plan. We have to vote on it. So if we knew that
we're voting on it. They actually, that's what they agreed on. And the process, there's no violation of process, of due process in it, as directed by our attorney. So they did that. So now we're in the process. I'm just disappointed that you are going to be imposing something on us when there's absolutely no precedent the other way around either. So I just wanted to say that for the record.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments? All those in favor of Mary Ann Keefe being secretary, say aye. No, we didn't vote for that.
No, you got to know.
All those in favor of Mary Ann's appointment as secretary, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
I abstain.
So Mary Ann continues as secretary. Okay, I think we're going to go into...
The only person never to vote for herself, right? In an election.
We're going to go into executive session?
Yeah, to discuss personnel.
Oh, do we have to adjourn?
She was not voted for herself.
No, we changed that policy.
So we got to adjourn and then...
No,
Just move into a motion to go into executive session.
Is there a motion?
Wouldn't it be easier just to close it now?
It would be.
Why don't you close it, because I'm going to be the only one.
Right.
Yeah, I move to close. We go to the executive session.
Second?
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. No one opposed?